Welcome! Take a seat, come in. Have you had enough water today? Have you had 64 ounces? I don't know what time it is where you're at right now in the world, but before the end of the day, drink at least 64 ounces. Thank me later. I want you to think of this video as an unboxing. This is my first time reaction to opening these example projects, and my goal is just to understand how they work so I can apply those principles to my work. This is not a tutorial or a master course, but me just wanting to learn more about X particles because I am paying for the subscription after all. So once again, you can find these examples in the community section under the Insidium homepage, community content repository. For now, I will be focusing on the particle effects section, and if you scroll down, I will be going through the particle portal project example. You can just click on it and it's automatically going to download. The zip folder is going to include two files. One is the image of the example of how it's gonna look like, or it's supposed to look like when you open it. These are rendered with Cycles 4D, but I've been using a combination of Octane Render and Cycles 4D for some of them. It really depends which one you're most comfortable with. So I'm just gonna click and open the Cinema 4D file. I am running Cinema 4D S22, and you can find my computer specs down in the description. And on the right, same thing, but it's just for the mouse. If you want to know what keyboard and mouse I use, I will also leave it down in the description. Okay, so this is it. When you open the project file, this is the first thing you see, and I'm just gonna go right away and press play. And there it is. That's pretty much the portal. Now I'm gonna increase the timeline to, let's say, 300. At 30 frames per second, that's 10 seconds, and that's a good amount of time that I like to make my compositions. So let me go back, press play again, and it's just gonna prolong the particle emission. And yeah, it looks cool. It's sort of coming apart, so I'm just gonna have to reduce the speed of the particles and maybe find a way to keep them on that circular shape. So I'm gonna go off my camera by clicking on this white rectangle. And I'm just gonna make this camera invisible in my viewport by clicking on the top of the camera layer, and it's just gonna make that invisible. I also want to get rid of this Insidium logo. So I go to XP System, I go to the emitter. No, just go to XP System, and then on the icon in viewport, deselect it. Now I'm just gonna disable the light, the environment, close that up, disable all the modifiers. I'll keep the circle and the other objects, and then that's pretty much it. It's just the emitter. So go to the emitter, and under the emissions, I can see that it's just a constant rate of, how much is that? 100,000 particles. Initial speed is 79. What else? Display questions. Okay, so the display here is what's gonna give them the color, I assume. So let me play it again. They start blue and then they change the gradient. Ah, okay. You see? Right now we don't have any of the modifiers, so they're just emitting inwards. The reason that it was emitting from towards the center is because under the emit from, it was under edges. So we can change it to, for example, let's say points, and it's gonna emit from the points outwards. I don't know why, but that's another cool effect that you can have. Now look, I'm just looking at the colors and seeing how under the display tab, yeah, so the particle display, it's displaying the particles as dots, is giving them a gradient parameter, which is this gradient, and that is based on the age. So the first set of particles, let's see for how long. So blue, 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 blue. Okay, right there it changes. I'm guessing every 50. I wish I could see the numbers in here as well when you change the parameters, but yeah, at 50 it changes, and then at 90, was that 90 when it changed? So 50, 90, which is, I guess, pretty much this. 50 is changes in here, blue, and then at 90 changes to the green, and then from green to yellow. Let's see if we can catch 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so like around 143, that's when it makes the change to yellow and, you know, red and so forth. And that is based on the age, because we have it on, okay, I understand that. We'll have it based on the grading parameter age. So, but I'm just gonna put it back where it was. I'm just gonna object, points, edges. There we go. That's how it was. Okay, so for the next step, I'm just gonna apply the modifiers, but I think it's which is the speed and the turbulence. So let me disable the turbulence and open up the XP speed. Now I go into object, it's enabled, independent mode. I don't really know what's going on. Coordinates, groups affected. So so the speed is just enabled, and then it's just clamping the maximum speed, okay, to 106. Does that mean that even though it's gonna be accelerating, it's not gonna reach that maximum speed? Okay, so I'm gonna click play. It's doing the same thing. Yeah, and it seems that the speed of the particles is pretty much the same. It's pretty constant. So let me deactivate it, and well, it was deactivated, and I didn't see much going on. Seems pretty much the same. What I'm thinking is that it works with the turbulence, because the turbulence, let me activate it. I think that the way this works is going to increase or accelerate those particles from the initial speed, which is 79. So I activated turbulence, and right now it's a scale of 128, strength 25. So let's see what it does. Okay, yeah, that's how it was before. Now let me deactivate the XP speed and see if we see any changes. Oh yeah, you see, it's not keeping it together really well. Let me activate it again so we can see it. That's with the XP speed. Alright, and I'm gonna deactivate it. And it just goes all over the place. Yeah, and that just, it looks like a galaxy if that's what you're going for. But the effect of that portal is just not keeping the particles a little bit together around this circle. So let me activate the speed back. And since our timeline, I extended the timeline to 300 frames, it's still gonna spread it out pretty hard. So what I'm thinking is I can go to XP speed and lower that maximum speed maybe to I don't know, 50. Play it again. Okay, and maybe I'll decrease the initial speed also to 50. I think that the turbulence is fine, but let me decrease the strength maybe to like 10, just because I do like the waves, but they're developing very in an early stage, because I think the project was set to a lower frame rate, which was 90, but now that I increased the frame rate, I just want them to develop a little bit around, I don't know, let's say 220. I want to see those curls at 220, so I guess that's my goal for right now. I'm assuming that if I increase the scale, it's just gonna make the waves longer. So let me go back. Now it's at 226. Yeah, you see? Now the waves are a little bit longer. Not as, tiny. Like this one. Which I do want, but not yet. Yeah, like around 220. I mean, now it's just giving me bigger and bigger waves. So I'm gonna try and animate the scale. So let's go back to where it was. It was at 128. And then let me go to frame, I don't know, 180. And don't worry about this. It's just the particles don't know what's going on. So I'm gonna put a keyframe on 180, and then as it goes to 220, another keyframe. Now on 180, the scale is going to be 250, and then it's gonna turn yellow. Click on it again. So the initial scale is gonna be 250, and once it hits 180, it's gonna change to 180. Oh, 128. Yeah. At this point, you see, I want that smaller scale turbulence to give me those fine curl. Yeah, there we go. Noise type curl. So there's those fine curls on the portal effect. So let me go back. Click play. Big waves because I have 250 on scale. Okay. Once we hit 180. Let's go. Give me some smaller curls, maybe. Huh. Oh, there we go. We see them. Okay, maybe I think that it's. I like the big waves, but not too much. So let me just drag these. Let's say 120. Play it again. Okay, right there. Okay, yeah, I like that. Yeah, that looks cool. It's not necessarily, pretty stable portals, but does it have to be? No. Now let me see how many. We're emitting 100,000 particles. I don't know what rate that is. If it's like per frame or something. On the display, they're displayed as dots, and the gradient color. So I think that's pretty much it for this simulation. It's just the particle emitter. It's emitting from this circle object, which if you want to do this from scratch, you can find it under spline, pen, and then click on circle or any shape that you want. I'm gonna go to the next step, rendering, and see how it looks, and then maybe I'll come back and modify it. So I already have the real-time preview under my tool. I guess like I just pinned it to my custom one, and if you want to see probably an actual tutorial of how I did it, let me know, and I'll definitely do like a really short tutorial. You can just look it up, honestly. You should just look it up. But I can do it if you want. Just let me know. So I'll open up the cycles real-time preview. You cannot see it right now because it has to be inside of my window. And yeah, there we go. And let me just go back, turn it on, stop it at a good point, and fire up Cycles 4D. Now there's nothing going on because remember at the beginning I turned off the lighting. So let me go back. They have a light object, so let me turn that on. You see, we can already see a pretty good representation of what this is going to look like. Let me increase that size to 100. Or is it the zoom? Yeah, it's the zoom. I'm assuming that the environment is just gonna what is this? Background material. Yeah, I think this was made in older versions, and I don't really know what these tags are, but we're just gonna leave it for now. So now I'm gonna go and look for these tags that they put in the emitter. That's the material. If I delete it, what happens? Looks the same to me. Let's bring it back. Move up a frame. Nah, I don't want it. What is this? Okay, the cycles for the instance. What if I take that out? Okay, we do need that. And the X particles material. Do I need it? Nope. Okay. What I'm assuming is this is just creating an instance of a sphere for every particle that we have in this emitter. Otherwise, if I take it off, then it's not, the particles are there, but the rendering cycles cannot see them. So I'm gonna put it back. Sphere segment 6, size multiplier. Let me put that to 100. And then on the size variation, I didn't explain this well on my last video, but when you have a variation, it just means that, for example, if I add 20%, it's gonna add 100 and subtract 100. So in the size multiplier is set, that's the base. 100 is the base. But if I say variation to 20, the size is going to be from 80 to 120. And it's just going to change the size arbitrarily. So it's not going to be constantly 100. It's going to be from 80 to 120. And then you can change the seed. The seed is just like the instance of like the whole formula. And I made the particles a little bit smaller and some a little bit bigger. So let's see how that looks. Right now we're rendering 30 samples, but we don't need that many for now. I'll just do it to 5. And can we see somewhere bigger and somewhere smaller? Let me keep going. Okay, that looks alright. Let me actually zoom out and compare it to the one that they gave us. So let it play until I get a little bit more colors. Pause it there and just compare it. There we go. Yeah, it looks pretty much the same. I'm gonna play around with it. I'll fast forward the video and I'll play it back so you can see what I came up with. Okay, so for this composition, I decided that the material is going to be this silver. I like the concept of the portal just being made out of this liquid metal that is just has this turbulence, and I just think it looks really elegant, really fancy. So I'm just gonna go ahead and keep that. And one thing that I might do for the final animation is just emit more particles, because if you see it at the beginning, they're all just pretty tight and it looks more like fluid than it's put together. For example, right here, like it's already coming apart. Like you see, these reflections look really cool. And one thing that I can do to make it even more smooth is add a generator and just generate a mesh wherever those particles are being spawned. So let me just show you real quick. Generator, OVD measure, and I'm gonna add that emitter as the source. And you see it's gonna create basically just a mesh using those particles. Now that might be an effect that you wanna go for, but even though I do wanna smooth out some of these waves, I also wanna keep some of those particles floating around. So all I'm gonna do is just emit a little bit more particles. So right now it's on 100,000, so maybe I'll do 500,000. I'm gonna save it, and if it's gonna start emitting way more particles, and it's obviously gonna have to compute them all, but as you can see, they're a little bit more together just because there's more of them, and I still have those single particles just floating around, because it's all about the balance. I don't want it to be too smooth, but I don't want it to be just all apart. Yes, this is really good. I like this a lot. So once you get to emitting a lot of these particles, obviously your system is gonna chug a little bit, and also if you have cycles just trying to render at the same time. So one thing that you can do is just pause cycles and let that render. But the thing is, if I want to go through this timeline, let's say I want to move to 280 to see how it looks over there, it's just gonna explode because it needs to make those calculations. But let's say, okay, then let me just go back. That's not gonna work either. This is calculating in real time. So when I press play, it's running the calculation as the timeline goes, but it's not stored in the memory. It's not cached. Like I'll go back and reset it, and that's how it's gonna be. I can skip, nothing, it's just gonna explode. But okay, let me go back. Doesn't work either. So if you're interested in how to cache this, just let me know. I'm not gonna put it out there if people already know what it is, but I don't need to cache this, at least for this composition. But other than that, this is pretty much what I like right now. I'm gonna run it through all the way just to double check. I already know it looks pretty cool. So you see, it's still changing the color of those particles, but I'm not using it. So let me go ahead and open that emitter and go to the display. For the color mode, I'm just gonna say single color because I don't need that. And there we go. So those are the particles. The waves look cool. You know, it's keeping it together because right now our turbulence is pretty big. Then I think at 120 is gonna start getting smaller and just do a little bit of turbulence on like smaller sections because it has a smaller scale, right? Okay, this looks cool, kind of like a fingerprint. And yeah, hit 120 and it's gonna start making the turbulence scale smaller, giving us more curls. So let's keep it going. You see, like right now it's chugging and my computer, the fans of my computer just turned on. But since I'm not going back and forth all the time, then this is fine. I don't need to cache it. And we can already see how it's already breaking those big waves into smaller curls. Like it's even creating some holes, and I think that's really interesting. Yeah, I like it so far. Again, this is 500,000 particles emitting constantly, so this is gonna struggle a little bit. And I'm just gonna stop it right now because there's a lot of curls, so I need to see that. So let me stop it, let me pause it, let me save it before it crashes. And let me turn on the preview. So there it is. I think it looks pretty cool. Like, look at all those waves. I'm just gonna have to increase the passes so we can get a finer image, and it's probably gonna take the whole night to render, but that's fine. Maybe a couple days, I'm not sure. Right now I have it at 30 samples and it looks pretty okay, and I'm sure that if I add even more particles we're gonna get more of that effect, but it looks good so far. I'm at 130 passes and I think that's enough for this composition. Alright, so that was the unboxing slash breakdown of the particle project examples up at the Insidium website. My name is Hafid, and if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. Follow me on social media to see the final animation of this, and until someone tells me, hey, can you do this one next, I'm just gonna keep picking randomly. So if there's a specific one that you want me to go through, just let me know in the comments and we'll go through that together next time.